Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Yes, I took a shower and it's 30 degrees outside, but my goal today was to wear as many colors as I possibly could. What do you think? Yellow banana hat, pink scarf, purple. You don't want to see the socks because they're bright pink. I know I'm crazy, but today is National Kentucky Day. Tucked over there in the Appalachian Mountains, surrounded by big old lakes and some of the hugest caves, longest caves in the world. Mammoth caves. Anyway, and good old Daniel Boone, let's not forget him. So congratulations, Kentucky, you were the 15th state to enter the Union. And I got a good show for you today, so stay tuned. Good morning. Welcome back for another episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. I'm Crafting Journey. I am also known as That Journey Chick on Instagram and The Leftovers on my other YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, the link is down in the description. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the content to this channel. Also, you don't want to forget to hit the like button. He'll feel really bad if you don't hit it, and then I have to hear him all day long about how nobody loves me and you know how that goes. So hit the like button. Don't forget also the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. Now there is a new episode up on the Leftover channel that you should probably check out. I got some cool stuff at the Goodwill in El Dorado, Kansas. So I want to show you where I'm at with the kitty. Here we go. Let me turn the light pad off. So yesterday I worked on the base of the crystal ball. I hope you guys can hear me. The base of the crystal ball, which is right here. And I added these really cool gray sort of ABs in there. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, because it had all different shades of gray. So I wanted to make it sparkle. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So I've got to do the rest of the shoe and the books that the crystal ball is sitting on. There's a spider down below. Isn't he cool looking? Oh, I love this painting. And it's really, you know, it'll be done by Halloween, right? What's today? The 19th. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I will put my new light pad back on. It has been interesting 2 days. So yesterday you saw me working on crocheting a cat bed. So as I'm editing the program after the show, I'm editing this and I'm getting everything put up, and I'm editing my next the Leftover show as well, film, video, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting here working on the cat bed, and Stitch comes over and just lays in it. So couldn't work on it. He just curls up because it was freezing yesterday. It's freezing today. It was 30 degrees out this morning. But I dressed very warmly, as you can tell from the opening. So he just laid there, fell asleep while I edited my video. I did finish that bed later on, and I put it at the top of their cat tree, and then Pearl found it, and I think I have some pictures of her in the bed. So that night I said, okay, I got to make another one, because I did not make it big enough for the two of them. I thought I had, but they are big cats. Oh my goodness. So I started another one for Stitch. I'm going to make it bigger because he's a big guy. Oh my word. I need to get these animals to the vet. Oh, they all need rabies shots. You know, they hang out outside, so I know there's other stuff that they need, and it's just getting them to the vet is, you know, sometimes not the easiest thing in the world. Okay. But I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh my gosh. I have brain fart today. So I finished watching The Watchers last night. And at the very end, I'm like, what? But it embellished a lot on the story, the actual true events of the story, but the ending was also true to the story. I can't tell you what the ending is in case you want to watch it, but yes. All right, I'm going to get some drills out here. So I didn't bring the crochet in front here today, but yeah, I worked on that in bed last night, and I put the cat bed that was finished in the bed because I had 2 cats and a dog snuggled in the bed. I wouldn't let the cats out last night. It was just way too cold. And I put the cat bed in the bed with me, and Pearl said, "Okay, that's mine." And she curled up in it and fell asleep. So yeah, I'm making, that was a yellow one, so I'm making an orange one for Stitch. I'm almost done with the base of it. I'll finish the rest later today. I'm not going anywhere because my sister needs the car today to go to a doctor's appointment. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about crafting and crime. Darrell Brooks. Wow. This guy is a piece of work. I'm going to tell you. He was on a tear yesterday. He just kept interrupting the judge. Like from the, I think the judge said by the time she kicks him out of the courtroom, she does kick him out of the courtroom. By the time she kicks him out of the courtroom and banishes him to the other courtroom, it's like 10:40, and he has interrupted her about 10 times or more, because she'll sit and record every time he does it. And he's always, demanding, "I want to know when are you going to decide the subject matter jurisdiction?" See, these sovereign immunity people, they have, I don't know if they've put out briefs or books or videos or how this information is disseminated, but these inmates, they pick up this information and then they run with it. I'm going to declare that I'm a sovereign citizen, and I'm going to ask the court over and over again about subject matter jurisdiction. And he is just not letting it go. So, yeah, I got drills everywhere. Man, every chance he gets. Are you going to decide subject matter jurisdiction? Are you going to decide? How about now? How about now? How about now? This judge is so patient with him, honest to God. So let me tell you how yesterday went. They put a law enforcement official on the stand, and they were focusing on the interrogation after his arrest. Now, the day before, we saw him arrested on the front porch of this poor guy that thought he was, made him a sandwich and gave him a coat to wear. And I think he took the coat back, or he didn't have the coat on when he was arrested or when he was on the front porch. So this law enforcement person, she sees him on the front porch. She tells him to get down on the, put your hands up, get down on the ground, blah, blah, blah. And he cooperates fully with the police, and he insists on being taken for medical attention because he claimed that he had been body slammed to the ground, which you can clearly see from the video that that's not what happened. He voluntarily got down on the ground, and then he was arrested. So he goes to the Waukesha Memorial Hospital, and the first thing that Jerry hears is an audio recording of the police and an FBI agent talking to him. And he's very surprised. FBI? Why is the FBI here? FBI? I've never talked to an FBI agent. And they're like, "Oh, we were just short of people, and so they're helping us out." The reason the FBI was involved is because they weren't, this was a very fluid situation. They didn't know if this was a terrorist attack, if there were other people involved. They had no idea. So, of course, the FBI was involved. And he just seemed, he's like, wow, am I in a movie? I can't believe this. So I'm going to get my notes so I don't forget. So he gets medically cleared. They take him to a police department and they put him in an interrogation room. And actually, what they did, because he was complaining that he was tired and he had hungry, and they put him in a cell. He got some food, and they said, "We're gonna let you get some rest. We'll come back tomorrow." So they come back the next day to do his interview. And the interview, at the beginning, he said he was in Waukesha, that he came to Waukesha in a Kia and came to watch a Packers game with a friend. And then his baby's mama called him and wanted to give him some money. Now, he says he knows he's supposed to stay away from her, but he wanted, that's the coffee pot, it's done. He wanted to get the money. And he told her, "I'm not going to have sex with you. I'm just going to get the money and I'm going to leave. But he don't want to hang out with you. I want to get the money and go." So then he said he went to this, he was going to go to his friend's house to watch his Packers game. But he couldn't remember the friend's last name. He didn't know the address of his friend. I don't even know if it was a male or female. I don't recall. But the more and he kept asking, what am I being charged with? Why am I here? And the first thing they questioned him about was, loitering and prowling. And he's like, no, I had some money in my Cash App and I just wanted to go home. I was cold and, and I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. I was just trying to make a phone call to get an Uber. So then they moved on and they said, "Well, what about this thing with your girlfriend?" And that's when he explained that, he was just trying to get money from her. And then he completely denied any knowledge of this parade or driving through the parade. He just knew nothing about it. He was denied driving the SUV, any of that. So the more they questioned him and they let him know that people had been injured, he kind of changed his story. Okay, yes, that's my mom's vehicle. Because at first he said, no, my mom doesn't drive. She doesn't own a car. And then they said, well, we found the keys to that car in your pocket. And so we know you're associated with that car. So he finally admitted that he was driving that car. So then they tried to get him to watch the video of what he had done. And he refused to watch the video. Why do I need to watch the video? This is the end of my life. This is where my story ends. I'm going to die now. And the prosecution asked, did he ever at any time ask about the victims? How are they? How badly are they injured? Nothing. He was only concerned about himself. What am I being charged with? Yeah. So at one point, all these interrogation videos are stopped because they were just showing certain clips of the video of the interrogation, because parts of the interrogation had already been ruled that were irrelevant. And what it is that they're trying to keep out is his prior bad acts. So he has been arrested and was actually out on bond for previous domestic violence against the same woman. And they don't want the jury to know that. So by showing other parts of the interrogation, it might open the door to that information coming in. And they don't want the jury to know that he had already had a prior from this domestic violence. So they interrupt this witness to call one of Darrell Brooks' witnesses out of order because he's Hispanic and he needs an interpreter, and the interpreter happened to be available. So because the interpreter was available, they called this witness out of order. Now, at this point, Darrell gets to do a direct examination. And what he got out of this guy was, the guy said he was at the parade, or he was in the parade. I don't recall which one, but he got hit in the leg and he was thrown like 15 to 20 feet. And he couldn't remember the color of the car. And Darrell was like, well, didn't you tell the FBI that the car was black? Now, that's an improper question. On a direct examination, you can't lead the witness. And he said, I really don't remember. I don't recall the color of the vehicle. I don't know what I said. So that was kind of that. And Darrell kept mumbling under his breath and arguing with the judge. And on cross-examination, the prosecution was trying to cross-examine this witness, and Darrell kept interrupting. He objected to every single question, and when it didn't go in his favor, he was offering commentary, and to the point where the judge said, okay, I'm putting you in another courtroom. So she puts him in another courtroom, tells him he needs to calm down. She makes a big colloquy on the record about why she's doing this, and she's being very, very careful for the appeal. And then she brings out the jury. He's still in the other courtroom, and they put the witness back on the stand. This was the Hispanic guy. They put him back on the stand, and the prosecution was supposed to finish their cross-examination. And the prosecution says, no, I have no more questions. And the judge is like, oh dear. And then so she turns her attention to Darrell, and she turns on the microphone. So she unmutes him. She turns it on. And he doesn't have his headphones on. He can't hear her. He's just sitting there like reading a book. So the bailiff finally gets his attention. He puts the headphones on, and she says, do you have any further questions of this witness? This is your chance to ask any follow-up questions. So after asking him several times, he finally says, no, I don't have any follow-up questions. So she dismisses the jury again. The witness is dismissed, and she says, do you want to come back in the courtroom? And he goes, well, why are you holding me in contempt of court? She says, I'm not holding you in contempt of court. And that was part of the record that she had made, that she was not holding in contempt of court. She said why she wasn't holding him in contempt, because that would just serve to delay the trial, which is what it's kind of rewarding him. This is his goal all along, is to delay the proceedings. So she felt like if she held him in contempt, it would be rewarding him. So she said, no, I have not held you in contempt. Well, it went back and forth. So to the point where he refused to ask her. Her question was, will you conduct yourself with decorum and come back in the courtroom? And he wouldn't give her a straight answer. He kept arguing with her about other stuff. And so finally she says, I've asked you 3 times. You haven't answered me. Okay, so we're just going to bring the jury back in. So then he signals to the bailiff that yes, he wants to come back in the courtroom. So then she has to send the jury back out, and then she, when the court returns, he's back, and they continue with the same law enforcement officer and the rest of the interrogations, which I've already talked about, all the interrogations. But there was one part I wanted to show you where, first thing this morning, and what's going to happen today, there's, I think, one more prosecution witness, maybe 2. At noon, they are taking the jury on a bus to a location that they're not telling the jury where they're going. They won't be able to identify where they're going. They're going into a jail, Sally Port, where all the jail identification has been covered, and they're going to be viewing the actual vehicle. And Darrell Brooks has opted not to go. And he said, nope, I'm not going. I have a right not to go. And he didn't want it to take place at all. He says, it's irrelevant. What's the relevancy? She says, this is a piece of evidence that does not fit in the courtroom, and the jury's allowed to see it, so we are taking the jury to see it. Yeah. And he won't be there. So it'll probably go very smoothly, I would think. Testimony is continuing this morning. They have a witness on the stand that is testifying about. I forget. I've already forgotten. What was it? Oh, he was an IT person. Oh, I don't know. Something about bank accounts and I don't know. Anyway, I forget. Um, I just watched it and I forgot. My brain. Okay, let's talk about the George Wagner case. They put on another detective, and they had taken footprint impressions of each of the Wagner family so that they could figure out what size of their feet were to match them up with the shoes and that kind of thing. And then they played 10 more recordings of wiretap with conversations between Jake and Hannah Mae. A lot of these recordings you could hear Hannah Mae and Sophia. Hannah Mae was one of the 8 victims of the Roden family. She and Jake had had a relationship. Sophia was their daughter, or is their daughter. She's still alive. And I don't know who has custody of Sophia at this point, but it won't, obviously, none of the Wagners are all in jail. However, they said you could hear Hannah Mae on a lot of these recordings. None of them really related to the murder or the guilt or innocence of George, which we really haven't heard much to tie him to this scene, except perhaps the footprint that they're going to match up to his foot. So, what happened this day in history? John DeLorean is arrested. Now, DeLorean, he was the inventor of the DeLorean car. You know, it wasn't painted. The windows or the doors, instead of opening out, opened up. And it was like one of the most famous cars in the world. But the problem was it didn't sell very well. At the time it came out, the average cost of a vehicle was about $10,000. And the DeLorean was $25,000. At the time, you could get a souped-up Corvette for about $18,000. But so his DeLoreans weren't really selling very well. And in order to produce that car, he had all these investors like Johnny Carson, and they all threw money in for him to make this car. So he was having some financial issues. So he was arrested on this day in history for his involvement in a $24 million cocaine deal, 55 pounds of cocaine. Now, 2 years, fast forward to 2 years. This is late 1982, so you fast forward to 84. The trial goes through, and he's acquitted. But his legal troubles don't end there. He's charged with fraud. He has to pay millions of dollars to his creditors and his lawyers, and but he does get to appear in Back to the Future. Steven Spielberg used the DeLorean in Back to the Future. Now, originally, Steven Spielberg was going to use a refrigerator. But he liked the look of the DeLorean. He thought it was very futuristic, and he was swayed against the refrigerator because he thought young people who saw the movie would be getting trapped in freezers and refrigerators. He's probably right. I just remember that being a thing. Like if you had a refrigerator that was outside, or where kids were, you'd had to, like the door had to be removed, or I don't know, because they don't want kids locking themselves in refrigerators and freezers. So we use the DeLorean. Very cool. So that is this day in history. Guys, thank you for watching. Oh, gosh, how could I forget? All right, one more thing. One more thing. I don't want to. There is a new video of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Now, Gabby Petito is the young woman that was found deceased up in the Arizona desert, and her boyfriend is thought to have murdered her. And this video was taken about 10 hours prior to her death, where you could see them going through the grocery store. I'm going to show you some of that. It's an 8-minute video. I don't want to play the entire thing, but I'll show you some of that. It's not really, they're not fighting. You just see them. And I guess it's interesting. Because they look like they're getting along. They don't look, they look fine. They're just grocery shopping. They pick up their groceries and they leave. But the interesting part is they sit in the parking lot. They leave the store at one point in time, and they don't leave the parking lot for like 20 minutes. So I'm curious what was going on during that 20 minutes. Were they arguing? Who knows? But Interesting video. This was released by the police and it is now public. Uh, as you know, there was a huge search for Brian Laundrie. He disappeared with the help of his parents, allegedly. And he was later found deceased in a swamp near his house in Florida. So that is the show for today. Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other channel, The Leftovers. And if you're curious, you can look at my eBay store. That's what I'm doing for a living now. Unemployed, reselling undervalued items for a profit on eBay. If you buy something, let me know you're a subscriber so I can be awfully extra and send you a watercolor card hand painted by me. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will see you. What's today? Is today Wednesday? Craft with me Wednesday this afternoon. Yes. Okay. I'll be doing watercolor and crocheting. So tune into that. That'll be at 6 p.m. Central Time. See you then. Bye.